There's something incredibly strange about old houses. They hold on to memories. And sometimes they hold on to things that shouldn't exist. I went up to my dusty attic today. I was just looking for some old winter clothes. The air was thick, heavy with dust dancing in the late afternoon sun. That's when I saw it, pushed way back in the corner. A battered cardboard box with the word childhood barely visible on the side. Opening it was like stepping into a time machine. An old Game Boy Color, covered in a thick layer of grime. A stack of holographic trading cards, their edges completely worn out. It brought back a rush of memories. The days when we believed monsters could actually fit inside our pockets. But as I pushed the old notebooks aside, my hand hit something hard at the absolute bottom. It was wrapped in a greasy, oil-stained cloth, and it was heavy. Unnaturally heavy. I lifted it out into the sunlight. This wasn't a plastic toy from the 90s. As I peeled back the dirty cloth, I realized I was holding a solid piece of brushed metal. It was covered in deep scratches, rust, and battle scars. It looked industrial. Like a piece of classified military hardware disguised as a nostalgic icon. I took a rag and started wiping away decades of grime. The red and white paint was chipped, but the metal underneath felt cold and frighteningly real. I brushed my thumb over the thick glass button in the center, and my heart completely stopped. Deep inside the glass, a faint purple LED light flickered. Then it pulsed, slowly at first, then faster. The heavy metal sphere started vibrating in my hands. The purple glow grew blindingly intense, casting wild shadows against the attic walls. And then, the locking mechanism snapped open. A blinding flash of purple light engulfed the entire room. I had to shield my eyes. The force of it knocked the breath right out of my lungs. When the intense light finally began to fade, the air in the attic was freezing cold. Through the thick, swirling steam, a physical form began to materialize on the wooden floor. It was crouching. Pale, highly detailed muscular skin, steam rising directly from its biomechanical armor. This wasn't an animation. This was a living, breathing apex predator. It slowly unfolded its massive limbs, standing up so tall its head almost brushed the ceiling beams. The silence in the room was suffocating. I couldn't move, I couldn't speak, and then its eyes snapped open, glowing with an absolute, terrifying psychic power. Gravity simply stopped working. I watched in pure shock as the old Game Boy, the trading cards, the dust motes, everything began to slowly levitate off the ground, outlined in a faint purple aura. He just looked at me. It wasn't the look of a pet. It was the cold, calculating stare of a god analyzing a very fragile human. Slowly, deliberately, he raised his three-fingered hand toward me. Jagged bolts of raw psychic energy crackled gently across his fingertips, distorting the air between us like a heat wave. My hands were shaking. But my instinct took over. Slowly, I reached out my own hand to meet his, human flesh reaching out toward alien armor. Our fingers stopped just 1 inch apart. The energy pulsed between us. I don't know what happens next. But I know one thing for certain. We are not alone anymore, and the world is about to change forever.